Okay, I'm gonna get going because I got 10 minutes and I'm gonna run out of time, I'm afraid. Okay, this is about books. So one of the things that really surprised me is actually that kids do get into books quite fast if you start talking to them about them. So it's about making books matter more to children. And I went to the library about 2 weeks back, and I saw this on an app. It said the Miami-Dade Public Library System will be the compelling community destination by providing a 5-star customer service experience. I thought that sounds interesting, so I couldn't wait to open the app. And then this is what I saw for the app. So I thought that doesn't look very compelling to me. And I thought, well, maybe there's something that could be done about that. I started off on this sort of trail of trying to track down kids who I could interview, and ended up almost getting thrown out of a couple of libraries in the process. I ended up, actually, the biggest success rate I had was later on in the process, where I did parent-child groups in Barnes & Noble. At least there you could actually find the adult and talk to the adult and the kid at the same time. So it was quite an interesting process to go through all that. One of the things I also found, speaking to the librarians here, is that they have particular views about what they think the library is doing. And the head librarian said people don't value things that are free. That sounded like a bit of an excuse for things which maybe weren't going so right. So I did a bit of user testing. Well, actually, this was an affinity map to try and find out some pain points. And I found out that this is like an iceberg. So you've got a few things which people are seeing on the top, like the library management are saying the kids' facilities are good, the locations are convenient, and people trust the library, which is not surprising because they sort of have a community relationship with it. But there's a lot of stuff underneath. And the feedback I was getting were things like difficulty finding books. Almost everyone had had a late charge at some point. There was a generally negative image, and people weren't really sort of comfortable going to the library. It wasn't felt to be welcoming. And also the online services were poor. So I thought, there must be something that we can do about that. And one of the issues is that the competition has come in, and you've got companies like sort of Barnes & Noble who do appeal to kids a lot, and they're attracting kids, and they're taking kids away from libraries. And along with Barnes & Noble, other independent bookstores are actually growing, which is quite encouraging. So why are libraries not doing very well? Well, if you do a sort of competitive analysis, and I looked at libraries against Barnes & Noble, Books and Amazon, libraries actually do pretty well. They're personalized, they've got somebody there to help you, they do have kids' rooms, they're sort of community-orientated, and they're trusted, and they're free, above all. But where they're not is in the innovative space, which is where Amazon and Barnes & Noble are. So they need to get that fixed. And also, they're not particularly welcoming. That's probably because a lot of people you see in libraries don't look as if they're welcoming. So what you have to do is try and fix a lot of things. Now, this character was interesting. When I went to do some observation of libraries, I saw him sort of peering through what looked like a sort of hole in the books at something. But actually, he was trying to find a book for his kid. He spent about 20 minutes looking for the next book that his kid was going to read after Captain Underpants, because his kid had been reading Captain Underpants series for about 6 months. And the problem is that kids sort of get stuck into series and they don't move on. They're not encouraged to try something which is a little bit more advanced. And also, you've got competition from iPhones. You've got 16,000. If you search kids on iPhones pictures on Unsplash, you get 16,000 sort of pictures. So that's a bit disturbing, I thought. So I tried to define the user persona a little bit more. And this is a typical sort of mother. She's really concerned about being the best mother that she can be. And she's got 2 kids, sort of 7 and 9. And her goals are to improve her child's reading ability, to vary the books that he's reading, make sure that they get good grades at school, and bring them up the way she felt she was brought up. But the children, the frustrations of the children are not reading enough, and they're not reading quality books, and too much time is spent distracted by electronics. So how can you guide them? So that's like one of the personas. And the actual user, who I thought was the kid on the right. And his goals, he's quite competitive. He wants to get into the soccer team. He wants to play games when he's with his friends. He wants to get through all the installments of Captain Underpants. But his frustrations are that he gets his phone taken away from him. And he was beaten by his brother at table tennis. And he's got other sort of issues there. So So I tried to create a how might we statement, and it really was how might we encourage children to improve the variety, quality, and understanding of the books that they read. And to do this, I think you have to do it by helping kids to read more and fall in love with books, encourage conversation between kids about books, and get kids and adults to use the library more as a result. So I looked at 3 different sort of models. One was a concept which I took these 3 models to different libraries to test them. And one was like a booth where you could go and record a 1-minute summary of the latest book that you read, which would get pushed out onto social media. So this would be like a sort of versatile booth that would go around. That inspired a lot of interest in the libraries, but the kids didn't really like it. In fact, I showed it to my son. He said, "Daddy, please don't make that app." So I won't be doing that one. The other one was like a book suggestion thing, where you would put in, you'd take a photograph of your book, and it would ask the kid, how did you like it? How do you find it? And there'd be this sort of scale, which you can see down on there. And depending upon how hard that book was for the kid, it would give the kid the next book up in terms of the level. And that seemed to be interesting, although it was perhaps a bit overt, that whole process of measuring. And if you ask a kid his weight, he's likely to take his shoes off, when he gets onto the scales. So kids are quite good at sort of gaming those sort of systems. And the third idea was a quiz app, which actually got the most traction from the kids who I was researching. So the idea here would be that you would answer quiz questions on the last book that you read. And then it was backed up by the possibility of a book being given to charity by the library or by another company if you got to a certain level. Now, the kids loved the quiz app. They didn't really like the charity element of it, so sort of killed that. So I did a sort of Moscow on this, so I must have, should have, could have, and decided that the key things were to have a real-time quiz with easy onboarding to find friends, find books, add friends, and see if a friend has read the same book as you have. It should have a timer, and it should play on this FOMO element, which is fear of missing out. Because if one kid has read a book and you haven't read a book, then you're not really in the conversation. So you need to find out what your friends are reading. And the concept really was around the idea of book ninja. It started off as something else, but ninjas seem to be quite attractive to kids because they're quite active and they're competitive. And as you can see, one of our users the user persona is pretty competitive. And also the colors match those of the public library system, so that's why I did the collage with those particular colors. And a couple of examples of how the prototypes developed. This is the name. It was Book Crazy. It changed to Book Guru with somebody's head that had turned into a book, and then it turned into Book Ninja. And then there's another one where I was looking at the sort of information that you would need when you start a battle with someone between 2 people. And you can see in the middle that we had quite a lot of information about whether you're an expert versus a fan, how many guru points you had. That was really too much information. You just wanted to have the score, the book you were fighting over. So that's how that worked. And the third one is on the ranking. In the middle, you can see a very basic ranking of you versus other people. And actually, that's an opportunity to go into a little bit more detail, because I think when kids are playing, they just want the basic data so they can play quickly. When they're planning to play in the future and they're looking at who their competitors might be, they actually get quite strategic. So the idea is that you can move the book at the top, because it's a sort of carousel, and you can see what people who read that book, which people read that book who are your friends. And those books are chosen from your own library, so you can see who matches you. So let's see if this works. Oops, no, I think I have to double click on that. Save as. Oh, no. No, it's not working. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Oh, then go back to that one. Yeah, and then. Thanks. Yay, here we go. So, here we go. You sign in fairly quickly. You would put your name, username, and email. And I found out, actually, I was going to do this with Facebook, but not a lot of kids are actually on Facebook. So that sort of killed that idea to begin with. So you need something that's fairly basic. Then you enter, and it gives you instantly a path, really. So you can, how do you become a master ninja? Well, you add books to your bookcase, which is your personal sort of collection. You find an opponent, you battle with your opponent with one of your books. You get a ninja star if you win, very simple, 1 ninja star, 1 book. And then you get belts on your path to become Book Ninja Master. Is that it? Are we off? Okay. So I'll go through a bit quicker. And then you put in your author. And here's an author. Here's a book that it's served up, which is Percy Jackson and the Olympians. You confirm that book. And then it puts that book into your library. So now you can battle that book, or you can add another book. In this case, they're going to add another book. I won't go through the full process of adding another one, but there you can see it's added. And then maybe add an opponent. Do you want a new opponent, a previous opponent, a random one, or play by myself? In this case, I'll add a new one. So now you find your opponent. You have to put a name in, clearly. Carmen Diaz. Now Carmen appears. You know she's got 77 stars. She's a red level ninja. You can see the books that she has, which you've read as well. If you click on that, it then shows you her stars, and she's now ready to battle. So you could battle her. You would send a note to her, and then you're ready to go. If she responds, ready to battle? Yep. Question 1. This is a Harry Potter question about collectible wizard cards. If you answer which were packaged with magical sweets, it's actually chocolate frogs. Question 2, a similar sort of question. And question 3, I won't keep going through these, but you can see how it works. You then win a star. You can play again, see your progress. In this case, let's see progress. So you can see all these different belts that you can get. You can go up to 125 stars at the top there. So it's quite incentivized. And there you are. Now, this is like the home screen. So you can go to my book chest, my opponents, read next, or my progress. And this read next shows you other people who've read Harry Potter and what they like. So you can find new books. And then if you go to the library, you can order from the library. And if you put in your library name and address, you can actually get a book delivered to it. Yeah.